In today's video, we're learning how to throw the cross, and at the end of the video, I'm going to share with you my top tip on how to actually land the cross. So first of all, we're going to learn the upper body mechanics of the cross. So get into your boxing stance. I want to make sure our front hand stays at our chin the whole time on this punch. Now your backhand, all we need to do is straighten the elbow and turn our fist down so we end up with our palm facing down when we land the shot. Okay, so from there, we just want to make sure this hand goes in a perfect straight line back to our guard. So to recap, this hand stays here, elbow straightens, palm turns down, and then we return straight back to our chin. Okay, now let's look at the footwork. Okay, so this movement is all in the back foot, okay? So if you watch my back foot, what we need to do is go from here to turning it all the way over until that toe is pointing at my target or my opponent. What this allows is your right hip to travel in with the shot. So if I go back to where I was, you can see my left hip's in front, my right hip's behind. As I turn that foot, that's bringing my right hip all the way in to meet my left hip, and that rotation is really where all the power is in your backhand. The other thing we want to do is, as we turn that foot, we also want to bend the front knee very slightly just to support that additional weight. So putting it all together, we just want to synchronise that. So as I turn my foot and get to that end position, should be the same time that my fist lands. So if I go back, everything's rotating at the same time, and that moment of impact, my fist just gets to that full extension and turned down, and my foot is turned all the way as well. So if I show you on the bag quickly, it's going to look like this. There's three common mistakes with the cross that I often see. Number one is leaning too far forward as you throw the cross. So when they throw the cross, they're leaning too far over this leg and therefore committing too much, leaving themselves open to a counter. Number two is actually just not turning this back foot enough, and they're just very slightly turning it rather than allowing the hip to rotate the full way and really get that maximum power. Number three is actually making sure that your back foot stays on the floor. You see it quite often that when people throw the cross, they'll actually allow that back foot to slightly come off, and that's going to completely ruin your balance. So before we get into my top tip on how to land the cross, I just want you to let me know in the comments down below, do you feel more powerful with your lead hook or your rear cross? Let me know in the comments. Okay, so here's my top tip to how to actually land the cross. Before we throw the cross, we want to make sure we're actually in distance of the opponent, and to do this we're going to measure the distance with the jab. So if I show you on the bag, what we want to do is make sure we can actually either hit their guard or actually hit the opponent's face with your jab, and then if that lands, you know that you're all good to go and at a correct distance to throw that cross. So what you see quite often is people throw a jab that doesn't quite land, but then still try and throw a cross and end up missing that too because they're out of range. And then there, they leave themselves really open to a left hook counter from the opponent. So make sure that doesn't happen by always measuring your distance with that jab, making sure you can touch it, making sure you can land with it before throwing that cross. As well, it doesn't need to be a full-on power jab, it can just be like that pouring jab, touching your opponent before throwing that cross. As always, thank you for watching. If you have any questions or any video requests, again, please leave a comment down below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible.